Yo, what's up, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from tonight. There were like 13 games from tonight, so I'm not going to talk about all of them. I think I'm going to talk about 6 or 7 of them. So if I don't talk about your team, I'm sorry. There's just too many games for me to talk about. As you can probably tell from the thumbnail and the title of this video, I need to make a public apology because I said the Timberwolves were going to be good. And they tricked me. I got tricked by a team that hasn't made the playoffs in forever. This Timberwolves team is super talented. They've got a great offensive roster specifically, and they're not good. They just can't seem to win basketball games. I believe they've now lost 6 straight. Went from 3-1 to now 3-7. Some embarrassing losses thrown in there, like a horrible loss to the Magic, losing by 13 tonight to the Warriors, who, given, are a very good team. I think they're a contending team, especially when Klay Thompson comes back. But just the nature of this game and some of the losses that they've had. One loss I want to talk about before I talk about this game is they lost that they had the other night to the Memphis Grizzlies. They had all the chances in the world to win that game. They got a 5-second violation. Cat hit a half-court buzzer beater to send them to overtime, and then in overtime, their offense just became completely isolation play. It's like this team they flip back and forth so much. They have so much offensive talent. Way too much offensive talent to be as bad offensively as they are. Their defense hasn't been terrible so far, like a lot of people thought it was, but it's not good enough to make up for the lack of offense that they have, which is so weird for how much talent that they have. I don't know if it's coaching. It definitely is partially coaching because of the way that they kind of just fall into like isolation play, like I mentioned in the overtime of the Grizzlies game the other day, but also just like maybe the pieces don't feel like they work together either. I thought this was going to be a play-in team. I thought they might even make a push for the playoffs themselves, be a 7 or 8 seed going into the play-in tournament. They still can. They 100% can. They have a lot of talent, and I do think that there is a chance it could all like mold together and they could make it work. But as of right now, they've tricked me. Because I thought they were going to be way better than this. Especially, they've had some easy games, some gimme games so far on this schedule, like a loss to the Pelicans, a loss to the Magic. This team is too good on paper to be 3-7, and yet they are. And what makes matters worse tonight is that Anthony Edwards had 48 points, and they lost. 48, 5-5, new career high for Anthony Edwards. Shout out to him. He was shooting the 3 ball crazy well. He hasn't been a great 3-point shooter so far in his career, and he was nailing them tonight, making tough finishes, things in the mid-range. He was doing pretty much everything offensively tonight, and he could not get any help. Karl-Anthony Towns had 17, 12, and 4, but for most of the game, it felt like he was getting outplayed by Kevon Looney. D'Lo had 18 and 7. He's been super meh on the season. He had a decent stretch in this game where he kind of brought them back a little bit in the third quarter, but overall in this season, he has been so mediocre. He has to be so much better for this team to become what they're capable of. And you know the worst part about all of that, what I said about D'Angelo Russell, about the team not competing, not winning, the guy that they traded for D'Angelo Russell, Andrew Wiggins, including a pick, multiple picks even, dropped 35 on them. On I believe it was like 13 of 17 shooting, and he dunked on Cat not once, but twice. Which is a very fitting analogy, I guess, for the way that trade has gone for them so far. Wiggins has been not great, but he's been good on the Warriors. He's playing his role well. He's scoring. He plays good defense. He does a little bit of everything. He's a perfect piece for that Warriors team. They never needed D'Lo. They had Curry and they have Klay Thompson coming back, and now they've got Jordan Poole. They didn't need D'Lo, so they got Wiggins for a guy that they didn't really even need, who has now underperformed on the Timberwolves up to this point, and they got a pick out of it. That gave them Jonathan Kuminga. That trade is looking worse and worse by the day. D'Angelo Russell has to be better. Cat, tonight he had to be better. Anthony Edwards and Cat, most of the nights, like one of them is good, one of them is kind of off. They've got to figure it out quick because there's not a lot of time in the Western Conference. The good thing for them is that there are some good teams that are still kind of trying to figure things out a little bit, so they're not super far behind. It's not like they're the Pelicans, who I'll talk about in a little bit, who lost to the Thunder tonight. Thunder fan, if you couldn't tell. But they've got ground to make up. When you're a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves, and you want to know how like defeated and how kind of just how defeated Cat is, he said the other day when they were on the 3-game losing streak that is now doubled to 6 games, he said, we need to stop this 3-game skid because I know in Minnesota that can quickly become 6 or 7, I believe was almost the direct quote. And look exactly what he said, 6-game skid. This Timberwolves team tricked me. I thought they were going to be better. I thought this was the year. I thought this Timberwolves team, especially after the start they had, I made a video talking about how, oh, I was right. I told y'all the Timberwolves are on the come up. Anthony Edwards. I even talked about the Hornets on the come up, and they've been kind of mediocre since that video. Did beat the Grizzlies tonight. I'm not going to talk about that game because I've talked about both those teams a lot, but it's disheartening. I like this Wolves team a lot. I like Anthony Edwards. I like Cat. I like D'Lo. I like this team. I want to see them succeed. I've been rooting for them pretty much every single game. I want to see them win, and they're just not doing it. They fall into isolation play. They've got so much talent on this roster. When we go down this roster, Anthony Edwards, Cat, D'Lo, like we mentioned, Jay McDaniels is a solid piece. Naz Reid is one of the best backup bigs in the league. Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt. They've got a great team on paper. Not great. They've got a good team on paper. They can't make it work. Whether something needs to change, whether it's culture-wise, maybe the culture's just screwed. Coaching-wise, all the guys look defeated. And you can't be... Cat's going to ask out at some point. I would not be surprised if Cat asks out during the season if they underperform again. Things don't look good in Minnesota. Every time I say they start looking good, they fall apart again. Shout out to the Warriors on their side. Draymond Green left this game with an injury, and he looked kind of off. And then the Wolves started to quickly come back once Draymond Green went out. But Jordan Poole, 14, 25 from Steph Curry. Like I said, 35 from Andrew Wiggins, 10 from Otto Porter. Kevon Looney had 11 and 17. He had a great game. They picked up the slack, and they ultimately won, moving to, I believe now they're 10-1. On the season, which is kind of insane. Once again, like I mentioned the other day, about without Klay Thompson, without James Wiseman, this Warriors team is super nice, and the Timberwolves continue to disappoint. And I'm sorry for anyone that I told the Timberwolves would be good, because I was a fool. Next, the Miami Heat and the Lakers. The Lakers get a big win, winning by 3 over the Miami Heat. Now moving to 7-5. The Heat, this is one they've got to win against a LeBron James-less Lakers team. Now, given to the Heat's credit, they were without Jimmy Butler for most of this game. He only played 12 minutes, and he went out with an ankle injury. They missed him badly in this one. There was a lot of times where they just couldn't put together offense. They needed to get a bucket and or a stop, and Jimmy is great at doing both of those things. He's their best player, and they clearly missed him down the stretch. Tyler Hero had a good game with 27 points in 42 minutes. He did miss a couple pretty big shots towards the end, but they were tough buckets. He got pretty close for the crazy shots that he took to try and tie this at the end of overtime, as well as to try and win it in regulation. It just wasn't enough. Bam Adebayo, 28 and 10 with 4 assists, 18 and 11 from Kyle Lowry, 12 from Duncan Robinson, who has to be better. Duncan he missed 2 really big free throws. He got fouled in a 3-point attempt and missed 2 of the 3 free throws at the end. The Heat in general missed 3 free throws at the end of this game with an opportunity to try and save this one in overtime. And if they hit those 3 free throws, this game was tied at the end of the first overtime. They've got another period to try and win it. So just a bad night for the Heat. They've got to win this game. Like I said, I know they're missing Jimmy Butler. That is definitely a reason why they lost this game. But without LeBron James, this is one that the Heat really want back. I can guarantee you. On the Lakers side of the ball, Russell Westbrook, 25, 12, and 14. He had a really solid game. I, of course, do have to mention, at the end of regulation, Russell Westbrook it's a tie game. He's got a chance to try and take the lead. He has the ball. He's dribbling it like 8 seconds left on the clock, and he just dribbles it out and chucks a 3 up. I knew that was coming. I 100% knew he was going to shoot a 3. I'm a Thunder fan. I've watched Russell Westbrook a million times. I knew what was coming. I know that 3-point shot was coming. It's just so frustrating to watch because the last 2 plays, he got to the paint. He got to the basket. He had like a tough fadeaway. He had a couple mid-ranges in a row. He was kind of in that groove that I've seen Russ enter before from that mid-range area. He was just getting to the basket all night too, so I don't know why. I can't explain it, why he doesn't attack the basket in that scenario. And if he attacked to his left, Tyler Hero was guarding Carmelo Anthony kind of a little bit off to maybe help with the drive. And if he had driven there, he would have had Melo wide open for a 3 to try and win this game. The play was there. I don't understand why. It doesn't take away from how good Russell Westbrook was tonight. Like I said, 25, 12, and 14. He did have a good number of turnovers, but he made so many plays down the stretch that kind of outweighed them a little bit. 24, 13, and 4 from Anthony Davis, who had a solid game. 17 from Avery Bradley. 27 from Malik Monk. I can't believe the Lakers got him on a minimum contract. It's kind of ridiculous. And the Lakers get a big win. This is one they needed. And this one shows why the Lakers went out and got Russ. Without LeBron James, you need someone that can help raise your floor and help you win these games Russ did that tonight. This was a big victory for them. Like I said, moving to 7-5, and it feels like the Lakers. One thing I do want to say about them is there is no team that I've ever seen that the Lakers are a good team. First of all, I tweet out that they were a good team, and people are like, no, they're not. The Lakers are a good team, especially with LeBron James. They're a good team, but I've never seen a good team like the Lakers try so hard to lose so many games. They got a 5-second violation at the end of this one. Carmelo Anthony missed his first free throw out of 2 to make this a 4-point game and make it pretty much an unbeatable lead at that point. The Lakers just seem, and then the Russell Westbrook 3 at the end. The Lakers just seem to find ways to try and lose games. They didn't lose this one, which is kind of a miracle by the way that some of the plays went. They've got, I feel like it's coaching, probably. It's also just kind of being not on the same page. But like with the 5-second violation, the Lakers had a timeout, so I don't know why Frank Vogel didn't call that or one of the players. It just feels like a lot of times this team isn't on the same page. Maybe that is not having LeBron James, who is one of the best on-court player coaches we've ever seen. Maybe it is a little bit of that. Maybe it's just that Frank Vogel isn't doing a good enough job, but they've got to kind of figure that out. Next, I'll move into Thunder Pelicans. Lou Dort, 27 points, 24, 7-5 from Shea. Josh Giddey, pretty close to his first ever triple-double. He's got about until February to become the youngest player to ever record a triple-double. He's going to do that. He had 7, 12, and 9 assists tonight. If he had like one more 3, and he had so many dimes that Thunder players just kind of missed. He could have had it tonight. I think he's going to get it pretty soon. 14 from Darius Bazley, who I have loved the way that Darius Bazley has been playing recently. To start the season, he was very aggressive, which is what you want to see, but he was just taking a lot of threes and taking kind of a lot of really forced shots. In the last couple games, he's only taken mainly catch and shoot threes. Every now and again, he'll shoot an off the dribble 3 or kind of something pull up. He did shoot a pull up mid-range jumper that looked really nice. It just feels like he's been letting shots come to him more while playing good defense, grabbing rebounds, and I think that is the best role for him. As I mentioned, Lou Dort with 27, he was phenomenal. His offense has really been super shaky to start this season, and when his offense comes back, this team looks so much better. Shea was kind of inefficient from the field tonight, shooting around 30-40%, but he did get the 24 points, hit his free throws when it mattered most, and got us the clutch buckets down the stretch. 12 from Mike Muscala, who belongs in the three-point contest, and 6 from Trey Mann, who had a good game. These were his first minutes since he went down to the G League for a little bit to get some developmental time, so big minutes for him. On the Pelicans side of the ball, Nickeil Alexander-Walker had 33, 10, and 4. I think he had like 19 in the fourth quarter. We couldn't stop him. He was phenomenal. He is someone that I've gone on record saying I like him as a player a lot. I was praying when we trade Steven Adams, and we didn't know the details of that yet, that we would somehow get Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Of course, did not happen. But it's just fun to watch him and Shea go at each other on the court. If you didn't know, they're cousins, so it's kind of fun to watch. 25-15 from Jonas Valanciunas, who has been an all-star kind of guy so far this season. And the Pelicans fall to 1-11 on the season. So Brandon Ingram and Zion need to get well soon, because I think that's already too much of a deficit for them to make up to make the playoffs. Next, we'll talk about the Wizards and Cavs game. Kuzma hitting a clutch shot at the end of this game to seal it. 22 points for him. He's been really solid. This Wizards team, like when I go down the list, 15 points from Bradley Beal, 11 from Spencer Dinwiddie, 22 from Montrezl Harrell. If you got 15 points from Bradley Beal last season, there was not a shot in hell that the Wizards were going to win a game unless Russ dropped like 40. This team is deep, and right now they're on top of the Eastern Conference with an 8-3 record. They're a deep team. They play great team basketball. So much of the pressure has been taken off of Bradley Beal. I like what Wes Unseld Jr. is doing as a coach. Montrezl Harrell looks like a 6th Man of the Year candidate again, and the Wizards have something kind of cool cooking. On the Cavaliers side of the ball, 19-7-2 from Evan Mobley, 13-10 from Jared Allen, 19 from Darius Garland, 20 from Ricky Rubio, who continues to shine. This Cavs team's solid. 7-5 after this loss. They're just fun to watch. It sucks that they have no national TV games because people need to see them play. They've just got a lot of fun guys. In the Nets Magic game, really the only thing I want to mention is that KD dropped 30 on one missed shot, which is kind of nuts. Bucks Knicks, the Knicks losing this one, not one they should lose, pretty much fully healthy. Let me read you the scoring totals of their starters. 2 from Kemba, 2 from Fournier, 3 from Mitchell Robinson, 9 from Julius or RJ Barrett, and 16 from Julius Randle. That's just unacceptable. In this game, it looked like the Knicks, weirdly enough, their bench went crazy. 18 from Quickly, 14 from Burks, and 22 from Rose. But this kind of looked like a game of the Knicks last season where they just couldn't seem to get anything going offensively. They made it kind of closer than it seemed. It was not really a 12-point game. The Bucks kind of were blowing them out most of this one. 15, 15, and 8 from Giannis, 15 from Grayson Allen, who was a super underrated pickup in the offseason, 17 for Portis, 18 for Drew Holiday, and the Bucks get a big win. Once again, they're really beat up, so 6-6 at this point is a good record for them. I'm not going to talk much about the Pistons-Rockets game just because it didn't have a lot of implications, but it was fun to see Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham go at it. They're really fun to watch as a kind of a rivalry of sorts. Jalen Green blows by Cade Cunningham and dunks and talks a lot of trash. Cade Cunningham, his team wins with one of his best games as a pro so far. It's super fun to watch. I'm glad they put that on national television. And finally, the Portland Trailblazers versus the Phoenix Suns. What I'll say about this game is that Frank Kaminsky had 31 points. And the Blazers lost by 10. He outscored Damian Lillard in this game. 18 from McCollum. Lillard did have 28, 7, and 7, so this is one of his better games of the season. 23 from Norman Powell, 8 from Yusuf Nurkic, 7 from Covington. This Blazers team is just mediocre. That's what they are. They've got to make a move. I don't know if they will. They're like a first-round exit at best at this point. Frank Kaminsky dropped 31, so I wouldn't be surprised if Dame requests a trade tomorrow. So those are my thoughts on the games from today. I'm sorry, like I said, if I didn't get to your team or your team's game, but there were a lot of them. Let me know what you thought about these games. I appreciate y'all watching. I will see y'all later. Real one, say it back.